Hi again. John Wesley Bready, in his chapter, The Abolition of Slavery, in this Freedom Whence. This section is entitled Abolitionists and Emancipationists. The abolition of the British slave trade, in which for many years more than 200 English ships were constantly engaged, was the first essential in the long protracted struggle against modern slavery. The stages which led to the Abolition Act of 1807 are too well known even to be outlined here. To recall but the names of the sacrificial leaders who, through more than 2 decades, bore the heat and burden of the campaign is itself suggestive. As long as free men revere the champions of liberty, the names of Wilberforce and Clarkson, of Granville Sharp and Zachary Macaulay, of Thornton and Stephen, of Lord Teignmouth and Charles Grant, of Newton and Cowper, of Hannah More and John Venn, stand assured of fame. All derived their inspiration and their perseverance in the abolition struggle from their faith. Most were members of the Clapham sect. All were within the fellowship of the evangelical movement. From Wesley's preachers and leaders they derived their fullest support. The Quakers afforded them an arm of strength. Other nonconformist bodies rallied increasingly to the cause. Nevertheless, most prelates of the state church remained cold till victory was assured, while some, like Bishop Philpotts, who strove doggedly to kill all evangelicalism within the church, would actually remain slave owners till emancipation was forced upon them. A group of humanitarian rationalists, too, rendered memorable aid in abolishing the slave trade. Pitt, in early days, under Wilberforce's influence, proffered the cause yeoman service, although later, under Dundas's impact, his enthusiasm waned. The abolition question was upon Fox's heart when he died. Granville, as head of the government, in consultation with Wilberforce, introduced the final and successful bill through the House of Lords. To Sir Samuel Romilly, this question was ever dear, while both Bentham and Gibbon rendered the movement no mean support. But most humanitarian rationalists were under no delusion as to who initiated, organized, financed, sustained, and carried to victory the epoch-making agitation against the slave trade. Jeremy Bentham once exclaimed, "If to be an anti-slavist is to be a saint, saintship for me, I am a saint." Again, Romilly's noble tribute to Wilberforce on that triumphant night in the House of Commons, that is February 23rd, 1807, when the abolition bill was carried to victory, is applicable in no small degree to the untiring host of Christian zealots who upheld his hands. It is the tribute. When I looked, said Romilly, to the man at the head of the French monarchy, Napoleon, surrounded as he is with all the pomp and power and all the pride of victory, distributing kingdoms to his family and principalities to his followers, seeming when he sits upon his throne to have reached the summit of human ambition and the pinnacle of earthly happiness. And when I follow that man into his closet or to his bed, and consider the pangs with which his solitude must be tortured and his repose banished by the recollection of the blood he has spilled and the oppressions he has committed, and when I compare with those pangs of remorse the feelings which must accompany my honorable friend from this house to his home after the vote of this night shall have confirmed the object of his humane and unceasing labors, when he retires into the bosom of his happy and delighted family, when he lays himself down on his bed, reflecting on the innumerable voices that will be raised in every quarter of the world to bless him, how much more pure and perfect felicity must he enjoy in the consciousness of having preserved so many millions of his fellow creatures. What a wonderful tribute to Wilberforce. Here we are now more than 200 years later. One wonders if the name of Wilberforce has even a fraction of the familiarity to most people that the name Napoleon does. Put in a link to Lord Shaftesbury, who took up the mantle of Wilberforce for the next generation, as Wilberforce had been the great emancipator in the British Empire, if there was one, So Shaftesbury would be the great emancipator in England itself to the next generation. So Victor Shepherd did a mini tribute to Lord Shaftesbury, and Victor's essay is read by Vivian in the video we've linked.